The topic for today is Prime Minister Cares Fund. Why this topic has become important for exam. Recently, an RTI was filed to the Prime Minister's office to ask certain facts about this newly made fund by the Government of India. However, the RTI applicant was not given any information on the grounds that the Prime Minister Cares Fund is not a public authority under RTI Act. That means that the RTI applicant was not given the information that he sought under the application. This makes this topic important not only for the objective prelims examination but also for the main examination. Before we come to the detailed analysis of this topic, let us first have a quick recap of the main features of the RTI Act. RTI, that is Right to Information Act, was made by Parliament in the year 2005. The objective of this act was to allow Indian citizens to get certain information from various public authorities. Remember that the RTI or the right to information is available only to the Indian citizens. That means whenever a person files an RTI application, he is expected to declare that he is a bona fide Indian citizen. In fact, on certain occasions, it has been observed that the public authorities have denied to give the information on the ground that the RTI applicant has not disclosed his citizenship. Remember that there are few rights in our country which are available to foreign citizens also. However, RTI is not such a right. The RTI Act extends to whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir after August 2019. As you all are aware that because of the special provisions given for the state of Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 of Indian Constitution, complete Indian Constitution, all its amendments and all the laws made by the Parliament were not automatically applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. They had to be specially made applicable by the extension of the law by the Parliament. In case of RTI Act was not made applicable by the Parliament in Jammu and Kashmir. However, the people of Jammu and Kashmir had a similar right of information under their own state law. However, things have changed after 5th of August 2019. After this, the Article 370 has been considerably toned down. It still exists in the Constitution of India. However, its contents have been diluted, and the present Article 370 says that all the articles and all the provisions of Indian Constitution and all the amendments made from time to time shall be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. Therefore, as of today, RTI Act extends to whole of India. RTI Act is applicable only on public authorities. That means whatever information we want to have, we can have the information only from the particular public authorities. That means it does not include private entities or private corporations or individuals. We can seek information as citizens of India only from public authorities. That is why the definition of public authority becomes important, so that a citizen knows that he can get information from which authority and from which authority he cannot seek information. Interestingly, this is the very ground on which Prime Minister's office has denied to entertain the RTI application by saying that the PM Cares Fund is not a public authority and therefore it does not come under the domain or the purview of RTI. Let us look at the definition of public authority. Public authority, this phrase is defined under section 2H of RTI Act 2005. The section says that public authority means any body or any authority established by or under the Constitution, which means all those bodies which have been created, which have been established by the Constitution, they come under the category of public authority, and therefore information can be asked from such agencies. For example, Union Public Service Commission UPSC, or let us say Election Commission of India. All these bodies are established by different articles of Indian Constitution, and therefore information can be sought from these bodies. The second meaning of public authority is any body established by any other law made by either parliament or state legislatures. That means if any body has been established by a law, by a statute of either parliament or all the state legislatures, even such bodies fall under the purview of public authority and information can be sought for them. For example, say Lokpal. Therefore, Lokpal in our country has been established by Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act 2014. Thus, Lokpal and Lokayuktas are statutory bodies and therefore they come under the meaning of the term public authority. And third is any authority or body established by notification or order made by the government. That means any body established by order of government. For example, say CBI. The Central Bureau of Investigation was established by the Ministry of Home Affairs in the year 1963 on recommendation of a Santhanam Committee on Prevention of Corruption. So far, no law has been passed specifically for Central Bureau of Investigation, and CBI derives its powers and functions from Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. Therefore, we can say that CBI is a body established by notification or order of the government, in this case, Ministry of Home Affairs. All such bodies are also public authorities. Such bodies include those bodies which are owned, controlled, and substantially funded by the government, or even the non-governmental organizations, that means NGO, which are substantially funded by the government. Substantially means that they receive financial or other support from the government. It can be financial support or it can be some kind of, let us say, free land, which means direct or indirect support. If any NGO is receiving from the government, then RTI can be filed to that NGO also. The word to be noted here is the word controlled, which means all such bodies established by order of the government and they are controlled by the government, they fall under the category of RTI. But in this case of PM CARES Fund, the RTI applicant has been denied the information on the ground that PM CARES Fund is not a public authority under RTI. Now, the interesting question is, if it is not a public authority, that means it is not being controlled by the government of India. Then the question arises that who is controlling the PM CARES Fund? Interestingly, the head of the PM CARES Fund is Prime Minister and he is the ex officio head of the PM CARES Fund. That means by the virtue of holding the office of Prime Minister, he is the head of the PM CARES Fund. That means in future, whoever becomes the Prime Minister shall be the head of the PM CARES Fund. Along with the Prime Minister, this fund has three other members, and they are Defense Minister, Home Minister and Finance Minister. So, as you must have observed, it has four members including the Prime Minister, and all four are part of government. So essentially, it is the government which is managing and regulating this fund. Also, if we observe the website of PM CARES Fund, we can notice few things. First of all, we can observe the photograph of the Prime Minister along with the domain name of the website. If you observe that the domain name of PM CARES Fund is .gov.in, and that means it is a government authority. Similarly, the site is using the photo of the Prime Minister as well as the logo of Indian state. So all these features and the constitution of this fund, that is the PM and three ministers, it definitely shows that it is a body which is controlled by the government, and therefore ideally it comes under the category of public authority. Interestingly, the opposition parties are arguing that when there was already a fund called Prime Minister National Relief Fund, then what was the need of creating a separate fund in the name of PM CARES? Therefore, for the examination purpose, even the Prime Minister National Relief Fund becomes important. Let us have a brief look. This fund was created immediately after India's partition on an appeal made by Pandit Nehru because of the refugee crisis which happened because of displacement of people after partition. So a lot of people who were displaced from Pakistan and who came to India had to be provided basic necessities. As you all know, that Indian state at that time was large and essentially a poor state. And Indian state was unable to look after these people. And in such circumstances, the Prime Minister appealed the people of India to donate into a fund which he was creating, and that fund came to be known as Prime Minister National Relief Fund. Therefore, the initial objective of this fund was to provide assistance to refugees or the people who were displaced because of partition. However, that problem has now been resolved, and today the objective of this fund has changed, and the objective today is to provide immediate relief to victims of natural disasters, say cyclones, floods. It even provides assistance to people who are in need of surgeries like heart transplants, etc. An interesting point to be noted is that this fund also provides assistance to women who are acid attack victims. Also, this fund does not get any budgetary support from the government of India. That means this fund is completely dependent on voluntary contributions, and it does not get any financial contribution from central or state governments. In fact, interestingly, even the PSUs are not allowed to donate in the Prime Minister National Relief Fund. Yes, individual institutions and people can donate, but not government agencies. Prime Minister National Relief Fund is recognized as a trust under the Income Tax Act, and therefore it is exempted under Income Tax Act. It is not supposed to pay income tax. It is a charitable trust. The disbursals from this fund are made with the permission of the Prime Minister. That means, in a way, Prime Minister is in charge of all the money received in the Prime Minister National Relief Fund. Interestingly, if we visit the website of PM National Relief Fund, then not much details are given about the process of decision making and whose decision it is to spend the money from this fund. Therefore, the expenditure of money from this fund ultimately depends on the Prime Minister. However, if we go into the initial setting up of this fund, then as per the initial notification by Government of India, when Pandit Nehru made an appeal immediately after partition, then this fund was supposed to be managed by a group of people, and it consisted of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the President of Indian National Congress, the Finance Minister, a representative of Tata Trustee, and a representative of Industry and Commerce to be chosen by Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. The purpose of this multiplicity of people was to maintain a transparency in the expenditure of the funds. Now, it is not known that when and why was the power of disbursal of funds from this fund was given to Prime Minister from this multiple members committee. This is still unknown. Coming to third category of fund which becomes important for exam is the State Disaster Response Fund and the National Disaster Response Fund. These two funds were created under the National Disaster Response Management Act 2005. The purpose of these funds is to spend money during disasters, and SDRF as well as NDRF established under Section 48 and Section 46 of the National Disaster Management Act 2005. Now, these two funds receive financial support from central as well as state governments. Usually, central government donates about 75% of funds to SDRF, and 25% of money comes from the state governments. However, in case of special category states, central government donates 90% of the fund and only 10% is given by the state governments. If there is any disaster which is of massive scale and state government is unable to manage the disaster or to provide relief and rehabilitation from SDRF, then the central government starts spending money from the National Disaster Response Fund. So So remember that the SDRF fund is the first fund to be utilized in case of disaster. If it falls insufficient, then the central government can take the money out of the National Disaster Response Fund. Let us have a quick recap and comparison of these three funds so that any question if asked in the prelims examination or any objective examination can be easily solved. Remember, this topic can also be asked in the main examination in this format. For example, do you think that the PM CARES Fund or PM National Relief Fund should come under RTI and they should be audited by the CAG? Please notice that recently the CAG of India has observed that it will not audit the PM CARES Fund because it is a charitable fund. And that is why the argument is that there is no CAG audit, there is no RTI applicability, and there is a lack of transparency as to the expenditure of the money, the huge money which has been received by the PM CARES Fund. Anyways, let us come to the comparison of these three funds. We will make comparison of these three funds on the basis of few parameters. The first parameter is the nature of these funds. PM CARES Fund is a charitable fund. The PM National Relief Fund is again a charitable trust according to the Indian Income Tax Act. Whereas the NDRF and SDRF funds are statutory by nature because they have been established by Section 48 and Section 46 of National Disaster Management Act 2005. So remember that these two funds are simply charitable trusts, whereas this third fund, NDRF and SDRF, it is a statutory funds. In fact, they are separate funds. States will have their separate SDRFs and we do have one NDRF. So these funds are legal or statutory in nature. Coming to second parameter of source of funds. The source of funds for the PM CARES is completely voluntary donations. Similarly, for PM National Relief Fund, the donations are again voluntary in nature. That means for these two funds, there is no financial contribution by the central or state governments. The third fund, the NDRF and SDRFs, these funds do receive assistance by central as well as state governments. The third difference is about their objective. The PM CARES Fund has been specially established in March 2020 to deal with the crisis of COVID-19, which is yet to be away from this world. Whereas PM National Relief Fund, as we discussed, was initially set up to provide assistance to people who were displaced because of partition in 1947. However, today its new objective is to provide immediate relief and assistance to victims of floods, cyclones, earthquakes, or people who need money for various types of surgeries. Whereas the NDRF and SDRF funds are to look after the disasters, relief and rehabilitation measures. And the last objective of the comparison can be whether these funds are public authority under the RTI or not. The answer is no, according to the recent reply by the Prime Minister's office to an RTI application. We just discussed that this topic has become important only because of the fact that recently an RTI was filed by a student in Bangalore who wanted to know few facts about the PM CARES Fund. But the RTI applicant was not given the information on the ground that PM CARES Fund is not a public authority and hence RTI is not applicable on PM CARES Fund. So as of today, we can say that the PM CARES Fund is not an authority under RTI. Now coming to the PM National Relief Fund. Interestingly, the PM National Relief Fund and its status under RTI is disputed and the matter is at present pending in Supreme Court. Supreme Court is yet to decide that whether PM National Relief Fund is public authority or not and whether RTI can be filed to know its facts or not. So the matter is still sub judice. And coming to NDRF and SDRF, then yes, these two funds are public authorities and RTI shall be applicable on them because they are statutory funds. I hope we have made a good discussion of different types of funds which will help you to solve any question in the upcoming competitive examinations. And I hope that PM CARES Fund, PM National Relief Fund and NDRF, SDRF funds are clear. Thank you.